I went and saw Challengers in the theater and loved it, so much so that I rewatched it again on the same day. I saw a lot of people coming to the same conclusion, that it felt like movies were in fact back. And I'm not here to argue with that. In this video, I want to look at what makes Challengers stick out and fester in people's minds. What's the secret sauce that, despite only being out for less than 2 months, makes it an instant classic? Before going to Challengers, I want to ask you a question. What genre do you think this movie is? Some might say it's a heated romance film, others might say it's a sports movie, but I think there's no better label than just plain old drama, which is a little hard to define. Going back all the way to the theater days, drama was known as a catch-all for theater productions. Of those, there were comedies and tragedies. However, drama as we know now has largely been formed by the works of William Shakespeare's dramas. So with that in mind, what films come to mind when you think of drama? Sure, there's the crime drama, the legal drama, the comedy drama, etc., etc. But most of those just feel like they were tacked on because some serious things happen. But a lot of those categories aren't dramas in their purest form. Goodfellas, while great, isn't a drama. It's just crime. Silver Linings Playbook is a rom-com. Hereditary is a horror film. If you glance at the most popular films under the drama category on Letterboxd, you'll see a lot of very perplexing entries. My guiding rule for genre is if your friends ask you to bring a blank movie over to watch, whatever you bring them has to meet their criteria. That means if your buds want to see a horror movie and you bring them Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, while you have incredible taste, you might get some rolled eyes compared to something more pure horror like Halloween or The Conjuring. Which brings us back to drama. I don't have a great answer as to what would be the highest approval rating for something so broad of a genre, but Challengers fit that bill so perfectly. I think in part because, as mentioned, Challengers has plenty of familiar, recognizable subgenres, whether romance or sport, but all of that is in service of the drama. It's a film packed with intrigue, scandal, and love, presented in a way almost everyone will find compelling. Which is interesting because, to bring it back to Shakespeare, his plays were for the people. There was no age or class that was left out of enjoying a Shakespearean play. I think I, as an amateur critic, would like to believe I'm above all the trashy headlines you see plastered on the tabloids that you'll see at the store. But Challengers gives that same feeling of scandal in an infectious way. I was never great at required readings in English. A lot of books I found boring, but there was this one book by Machado de Assis called Don Casmurro that eventually becomes a tale of an unreliable narrator, filling his head with so many pervasive thoughts of jealousy that fester in his mind. And Challengers reminded me of that exact same feeling I had in high school reading that book. Same for Romeo and Juliet. Despite it being centuries old, the drama of an unrequited love still plays to this day. Same for Machado's depiction of jealousy that was written in 1899. Despite the massive time difference between these two works in a tennis match, there's still this unchanging human emotion that sparks these incredible stakes for something as simple as a ball bouncing back and forth between two men. The screenwriter for this film, Justin Kuritzkis, cited a match between Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka as an inspiration for this film, which I remembered happening in the moment, but if you go back and watch the match, you can see an almost Shakespearean level of drama unfold before our eyes as this match plays out.
You owe me an apology. I have never cheated in my life. I have a daughter and I stand what's right for her and I've never cheated. And you owe me an apology.
And very similar things are happening with Challengers. There's this intrigue of the match, and sure, tennis is the main vehicle for the plot, but as it slowly unravels, you feel so entrenched in who these people were, who these people are now, how willing they are to accept their new selves, who's right, who's wrong, and I think the answer to this beautifully morphs to whatever you believe in that moment. So much so that if I gave you my interpretation of the film, it wouldn't even be spoiling it because you'd likely take something uniquely different than what I would tell you. I saw some talk about Zendaya's character and how evil or misunderstood she is to people, which is certainly an interesting discussion to be had, I suppose. But I found this discussion interesting because the character of Tashi was an audience insert character for part of the movie. For about a third of the film, we see her in the crowd just wanting to see a great game of tennis happen again. And you can't help but relate to this feeling as an audience member, just wanting to see some great cinema in the theater again. You watch the metaphoric ball of the film's timeline go back and forth in a dizzying fashion, and you find yourself so swept up in the drama that by the time the film concludes, you can't help but go,